In the 1970s, America was terrorized by a man who wore the mask of normalcy better than anyone else. His name was Theodore Robert Bundy, handsome, well-educated, polite. To many he seemed incapable of cruelty. But beneath his calm smile lurked a sadistic predator. One who stalked, lured, tortured, and killed over 30 young women, and possibly more, leaving behind a trail of horror soaked in silence and dread. He wasn't just a killer. He was a nightmare that wore a suit. Born in 1946, Ted was raised by his grandparents, believing his mother was his sister. That dark lie planted a seed of confusion. His biological father was unknown. Growing up, Ted was intelligent but detached. Observers later described him as emotionally hollow. Bundy showed early signs of darkness. He enjoyed watching people suffer. Some say he would line knives around his sleeping aunt for fun. These were early whispers of something broken. As he grew, so did his obsession with control, dominance, and the female form, especially brunettes with long dark hair parted down the middle. It began in 1974 in Seattle. Girls were vanishing, one by one, in broad daylight. Some from campuses, others from crowded parks. There was no struggle, no evidence, just silence. Bundy perfected a cruel tactic. He faked injuries, slings, casts, or crutches to appear vulnerable. Then he'd ask young women for help, loading books into his car or helping him carry something. They followed him willingly into his Volkswagen Beetle, a coffin on wheels. They never came back. Witnesses finally gave a name, Ted. And that's when the nightmare turned real. Ted was a ghost in multiple states: Washington, Oregon, Utah, Colorado, and Florida. Each time he moved, bodies followed. He raped, tortured, and murdered. Sometimes he kept the corpses for days. Sometimes he returned to them, to defile them again. He used crowbars, handcuffs, ligatures. Victims were found with heads bashed in, throats slit, or decapitated. Some were never found at all. He killed with surgical coldness, yet managed to continue law school, date women, and even work on a suicide hotline. Ted lived among the innocent while hiding monstrous cravings. Bundy was arrested in 1975, but the terror didn't end. In Colorado, he escaped not once, but twice. The second time by cutting a hole in the ceiling of his jail cell. He vanished into the night. Then came the bloodbath. In January 1978 in Florida, he broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. In less than 15 minutes, he bludgeoned, strangled, and bit multiple young women. 2 died instantly. Others were left permanently scarred, physically and psychologically. Then, just weeks later, he abducted 12-year-old Kimberly Leach from her school. Her body was found in a pigsty, violated and discarded like trash. Bundy's trial was a media frenzy. He chose to defend himself, grinning, posturing, and playing to the cameras like a celebrity. But behind that charm was a man deeply sick. Survivors testified in chilling detail. The bite mark he left on one victim's flesh was his undoing. Forensic odontology nailed him. He was found guilty and sentenced to death. He spent years on death row, receiving fan mail, love letters, and even marriage proposals. Until finally, on January 24, 1989, at 7:16 a.m., Ted Bundy was strapped to the electric chair. Outside the prison, crowds cheered. Fireworks lit the sky. Justice at last. Ted Bundy's legacy is one of terror, cunning, and sadism. His story reshaped criminal profiling. He taught the world that evil can wear a friendly face. But the most chilling part? Many believe he killed more than 100 women. He never confessed to all. The true scale of his horror remains buried in time and perhaps in the woods. Some bodies were never found. Some families never got answers. And somewhere out there, Ted's ghost still haunts our fear, reminding us that evil doesn't always look evil. He was a man, a law student, a lover, a killer. Ted Bundy wasn't a monster in disguise, he was a monster perfected. Kitchen knife most of his crimes involved. Kidnapping young women, mostly brunettes with long dark hair parted in the middle. Sexual assault, he raped many of his victims before or after death. Bludgeoning, often using blunt objects like a crowbar or log. Strangulation, he preferred manual strangulation. Necrophilia, Bundy admitted to revisiting and performing sexual acts on corpses, sometimes days after killing them. Mutilation, he sometimes dismembered his victims and kept body parts as trophies, including decapitated heads. Posing bodies, he would sometimes arrange victims' bodies in disturbing positions. Targeting underage girls. Though most victims were in their 20s, he murdered a 12-year-old girl, Kimberly Leach. Yes, but it took a long time, and only when he had nothing left to lose. 4 years, Bundy denied any involvement, even as evidence mounted. He defended himself in court, maintaining his innocence to the very end, until the final days before his execution. Just before he was executed, Bundy began to confess to try and delay the death penalty. He admitted to at least 30 murders across 7 states, though many experts believe the real number could be over 100. In interviews with FBI agents like Bill Hagmaier, Bundy gave graphic details of his crimes. He claimed he was addicted to violent pornography, using it to explain his urges, though this is debated. Bundy enjoyed control, and by withholding information he held power over the police, victims' families, and the media. His final confessions were tactical, not remorseful. Bundy was convicted for Linda and Healy, Melissa Smith, Brenda Ball, Kimberly Leach, the 12-year-old girl in Florida, and many others, mostly aged 15 to 25. But many more are suspected. Some bodies were never found.